Chapter 21 Wang Qingci panicked. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing Lu Chen's words, Wang Qingci was stunned, and the jade hand holding the perfume bottle stopped in mid-air. Didn't she come to Bei Wang mansion just to get close to Bei Wang? Unexpectedly, Bei Wang actually offered to talk to him alone. Then this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If she could capture Bei Wang's heart, wouldn't she be able to find out the whereabouts of the mysterious master in Bei Wang's mansion? Not only that, if she can capture Bei Wang's heart, she can also find a way to lure Bei Wang out after the people from the Blood Moon Tower arrive, and then they will be able to complete their mission more easily, and maybe they can complete the mission without waiting for the people from Blood Moon Tower to arrive. Thinking of this, Wang Qingci immediately said to Lu Chen, "Of course, it is an honor for the slave family." Lu Chen smiled and said, "In that case, let's talk somewhere else." Having said this, Lu Chen looked at Mu Zixuan and said, "My dear concubine, I plan to have a chat with Miss Wang alone. As for these trial perfumes, you can have them delivered directly to Baihua Tower." Mu Zixuan knew that Lu Chen was planning to capture Wang Qingci, so she immediately said, "Okay, Your Majesty, I will have these perfumes delivered to Baihua Tower later." At this time, Lu Chen stood up from the bench in the pavilion, turned around and walked out of the yard. "Miss Wang, please come with me and I will take you to a quiet place." Hearing this, Wang Qingci sneered in his heart. What a lustful guy. Although they were alone together, Wang Qingci was not worried at all about what Lu Chen would do to him. In her opinion, Lu Chen was a useless prince. Apart from being born with a good skin, he has no strength whatsoever. How could she, a 9th-level warrior, be afraid of a useless prince? If Lu Chen wanted to do anything to her later, she could find various excuses to avoid it. This was how she did to the men she wanted to assassinate in the past. If Lu Chen insists on being tough, she can also use the charming skill to seduce Lu Chen and make him fall into a sweet dream. Wang Qingci has 100 ways to deal with an ordinary person, which comes from his confidence in his own strength. Wang Qingci followed Lu Chen to the main courtyard while thinking about how to deal with Lu Chen later. When Lu Chen and Wang Qingci entered the room, Mu Zixuan immediately invited Chu Yuqin was a little confused. What did Mu Zixuan want to do with her? Although Mu Zixuan believed what Lu Chen said, she was still worried about what problems might arise. After all, Lu Chen and Wang Qingci were alone, and Wang Qingci was a 9th-level warrior. Seeing Mu Zixuan standing at the door of the main courtyard, Chu Yuqin came over and asked, "Zixuan, what do you want from me?" After this period of getting along, Chu Yuqin and Mu Zixuan have become very familiar with each other. Chu Yuqin calls Mu Zixuan and basically no longer calls her princess, but directly calls her by her first name. Mu Zixuan said at this time, "Aunt Chu, the prince has brought Miss Wang into the room. I was afraid that something would happen, so I asked you to come over and watch." Hearing this, Chu Yuqin looked at Mu Zixuan with confusion. "Zixuan, the Miss Wang you are talking about is the one you called to the palace?" Mu Zixuan replied, "Yes." Chu Yuqin didn't understand. She just thought that Mu Zixuan called the Oiran from Baihualo to come here just to let her serve Lu Chen. As a result, Mu Zixuan now lets herself come here to watch. What does it mean? Could it be that Mu Zixuan is jealous? Want to make your own review? Chu Yuqin then continued to ask, "Are you going to let me talk about Chen? Tell him not to have contact with prostitutes." Hearing Chu Yuqin's words, Mu Zixuan immediately realized that Chu Yuqin had misunderstood, so she immediately explained, "Aunt Chu, you misunderstood. What I mean is that the prince is inevitably a little uncomfortable when he is alone with others. Be safe. If something happens later, please take action as soon as possible." Only then did Chu Yuqin realize that Mu Zixuan was worried that the Oiran from Baihualo would be unfavorable to Lu Chen. But having said that, Mu Zixuan is right to be so cautious. She had previously thought that there was something wrong with the Oiran from Baihualo. That woman walked very lightly, much like those masters who were very good at lightness kung fu. It was indeed dangerous for Lu Chen to be alone with a warrior who seemed to have internal power. Chu Yuqin said, "I understand. Once there is something strange in the room, I will go in immediately." At the same time, inside the room, Lu Chen sat at the table, brewed a pot of dragon and phoenix tea, and then said to Wang Qingci with a smile, "Miss Wang, please sit down." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Then Wang Qingci slowly sat down. At this time, her buttocks were somewhat dented by the stool, and it was obvious that her body was very soft. At this time, Wang Qingci asked with a hint of flattery, "My lord, what do you want to know about Beijun?" "I must tell you everything you know." Lu Chen didn't make any moves as soon as he came up. He asked seriously, "Miss Wang, does she know of any beautiful girls in Beijun? Especially the beauties who have conquered the country and the city, and are shy of the moon?" Hearing Lu Chen's question, Wang Qingci couldn't help but despise Lu Chen. He was indeed a womanizer. "When I first came to Beijun, I asked about any beauties in Beijun. It's not surprising when you think about it. This guy just took 2 concubines not long ago, and he probably wants to take another concubine now." Then Wang Qingci replied, "Your Majesty, Beijun is different from the capital. It may not be that easy to find a woman with the kind of talent that will captivate a country. However, the new family heard that there was a very beautiful woman on the grassland." Hearing this, Lu Chen suddenly became interested. "Oh. Miss Wang is talking about the barbarians in the grassland? How come barbarians have beautiful women?" Wang Qingci said, "Your Majesty, although most women on the grassland are relatively strong and do not conform to the aesthetics of men in the Great Xia Dynasty, there are still many beautiful women with good figures in the barbarian royal court. The beautiful woman I am talking about right in the royal court of the barbarians." Lu Chen thought for a moment. He was not able to deal with women in the barbarian royal court now, so he still wanted to be practical. "Miss Wang, please tell me about the women I have access to now. The barbarian royal court is not a place I can go to now." Wang Qingci smiled and said coquettishly, "My lord, isn't the beautiful woman you have access to right now right in front of you?" Hearing this, the corners of Lu Chen's mouth raised slightly. Wang Qingci could no longer hold back and wanted to start seducing herself. "If that's the case, then he won't be polite. His little Yu can have a day off today." Lu Chen then put a hand on Wang Qingci's jade leg, and then said with a smile, "What Miss Wang is saying is that it's my fault that I don't look at the person in front of me and actually want to go out to look for beautiful women." At this time, the fragrance from Wang Qingci hit Lu Chen's nostrils crazily, and Lu Chen's body immediately became restless. His current state of mind is not enough, and it is not easy to control his desires. Of course, Lu Chen had no intention of controlling it today. Seeing Lu Chen start to make moves, Wang Qingci knew that the conditions were ripe and he could now use the charming skill to deal with Lu Chen. People who are seduced by Mei Gong will be at her mercy. She can later ask where the mysterious master from the palace has gone. Immediately, Wang Qingci looked at Lu Chen, and then said with tears in his eyes, "My lord, you hate it. How can you touch others whenever you get up?" Having said this, Wang Qingci looked into Lu Chen's eyes, and then prepared to use the charm technique. However, the next second, Wang Qingci was dumbfounded. The power in her body disappeared completely, and now she was no different from an ordinary woman. Wang Qingci was confused. How could this happen? To make a warrior lose his power, he must be given some kind of medicine to dispel his power, but since she entered the palace, she hasn't eaten anything. She didn't even drink the tea that King Bei made after entering the room just now. Seeing Wang Qingci's expression change drastically, Lu Chen knew that she should have realized the seriousness of the problem, but unfortunately, it's all too late. Lu Chen then hugged Wang Qingci's soft and delicate body. "Miss Wang, you are so beautiful. I want you to be my woman." Hearing this, Wang Qingci panicked instantly. She quickly said, "Your Majesty, we have only known each other for a short time. Isn't it too soon? Why don't we get to know each other for a while longer?" Wang Qingci found that not only had he lost all his skills, but he also had no strength at all. He could not use any strength to push Lu Chen away, as if she had really been drugged. As a warrior, how could Wang Qingci not understand her current situation? If Lu Chen wanted to do something to her now, she would have no ability to resist. Seeing that Wang Qingci was panicking, Lu Chen lifted her chin with his hand, looked into her beautiful eyes and said, "Miss Wang, you are familiar with me once, and you are familiar with me the other time. Since you want to understand each other, it is better to get to know each other deeply." Having said this, Lu Chen kissed Wang Qingci's red lips. Wang Qingci tried to push Lu Chen away, but it had no effect at all. She could only make a whimpering sound. After a while, Lu Chen directly carried this charming beauty to his bed and began to cultivate feelings. Some readers say that I update less. Let me tell you, this book is updated daily at 4,000, which is 2 chapters. Because of the recommendation, it cannot be updated too fast. Principle of additional updates: that if the recommendation votes exceed 200, one update will be added. If the reward exceeds 10,000 book coins, one update will be added. Add up to 2 updates. Chapter 22. Aunt Chu, I actually have my own reasons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding! Congratulations to the host for having a woman again and obtaining the all-invulnerable elixir. The host cultivated a relationship with Wang Qingci once, and gained 20 experience points for the qi refining technique, and 10 additional experience points for the rejuvenation hand. Although the system prompts were ringing in his ears, Lu Chen had no intention of paying attention to them now. He is completely crazy now. He finally understands why Wang Qingci has a score of 95. Although they are all above 90, this woman is the best of the best, making him unable to control himself. At this moment, the entrance to the main courtyard, Mu Zixuan was waiting anxiously, but at this moment, they seemed to vaguely hear the sound coming from the room. Hearing this voice, Mu Zixuan breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that the prince had succeeded. Next, another 9th grade master was added to the palace. Chu Yuqin's face was a little rosy at this time. The princess took herself to eavesdrop on the wall, which gave her a strange feeling in her heart. Recently, she always thought of Lu Chen's handsome face in the dead of night, which was accompanied by endless emptiness and loneliness. Chu Yuqin kept reminding herself in her heart that Lu Chen was her sister's son, and she couldn't have that kind of feelings for him, but during the day, she couldn't help but peek at Lu Chen. Every time she heard the mixed voices of Lu Chen and other women, she couldn't restrain her inner agitation even more. But it happened that Lu Chen, a bad guy, liked to mess around in the inner courtyard. If this continues, I'm afraid she will really do something outrageous. At this time, Chu Yuqin quickly used her skills to stabilize her mind and not let herself think too much. While Chu Yuqin was doing her exercises, she reminded herself in her heart, Chen'er is Sister Yu's son, I must not have any inappropriate thoughts. At this time, Mu Zixuan on the side saw Chu Yuqin closing her eyes and turning red. She couldn't help covering her mouth and snickering. After all, she is a woman, and she is a woman who has never had sex with a man. It would be abnormal if she was not touched by those voices. However, this also shows that Chu Yuqin has thoughts about the prince in her heart, but due to the identity issue between them, she has been suppressing her inner feelings between man and woman. At this moment, Mu Zixuan suddenly thought of something. It seems that Chu Yuqin has been drinking dragon and phoenix tea recently. Others don't know the effects of dragon and phoenix tea, so they don't know what drinking dragon and phoenix tea means, but she knows because Lu Chen told her. Mu Zixuan thought to herself, does the prince really intend to turn Chu Yuqin into his woman? He is now able to subdue Wang Qingci, a 9th-level warrior, by relying on dragon and phoenix tea, and Chu Yuqin is also drinking dragon and phoenix tea. This means that if Lu Chen insists on making Chu Yuqin his woman in the near future, Chu Yuqin couldn't resist. Thinking of this, Mu Zixuan glanced at Chu Yuqin meaningfully. It seemed that Chu Yuqin would never be able to escape from their prince's clutches in this life. 6. The time of pain is long and the time of happiness is short, but the long and short time are relative. For example, Lu Chen felt that time was very short, while Wang Qingci felt that time was very long. Wang Qingci tried every means to escape, but was eventually pulled back by Lu Chen. She felt extremely humiliated in her heart. She, a 9th-grade warrior, fell into the hands of an ordinary person today, and she didn't know how she fell into the trap. An unknown number of hours later, Lu Chen hugged Wang Qingci's waist tightly, smiled in her ear and said, Qingci, I didn't expect that you, an Oiran from Baihua Tower, are actually Yunying. It seems like I'm pretty lucky. Lu Chen's words at this time were like the whispers of the devil. Wang Qingci gritted his teeth and wanted to scold him, but finally held back. She had to find a way to leave the palace and leave this place where she suffered so much humiliation. After her skills are restored, she will come back to kill the person who took away her innocence. Wang Qingci then said in delicate words, Your Majesty, please let me go. My family is in danger. Hearing Wang Qingci's voice, Lu Chen became even more agitated. Lu Chen said, "Qingci, how about you live in the palace from now on? I will buy you and let you serve me all the time." Hearing this, Wang Qingci's face suddenly turned pale. She quickly said, "Your Majesty, the slave family still has a lot of things in Baihua building. If the prince really wants to buy the slave family, then let the slave family go back to Baihua building and bring the slave family's things to the palace." Lu Chen stroked Wang Qingci's jade back and said, "Those things are dispensable, just buy new ones. Anyway, our palace has no shortage of money." Wang Qingci quickly found a new excuse and said, "Your Majesty, the new family grew up in Baihua building. They have a very deep relationship with the sisters in Baihua building. The new family can't bear to let them go. If the prince really likes the slave family, can he give the slave family some time to say goodbye to them?" Now she could only play the emotional card and let Lu Chen let her go. Lu Chen said, "Okay, I'll give you a month, what do you think?" Wang Qingci thought, a month. Coincidentally, the people from the Blood Moon Tower arrived soon. 1 month would be the day when this guy would die. At that time, she would personally deal with this guy to vent her hatred. Although he thought so in his heart, Wang Qingci still said charmingly, "Thank you very much, Your Majesty. I will serve you well in the future." Seeing Wang Qingci's fair body, Lu Chen couldn't help but develop feelings for Wang Qingci again. After an unknown amount of time, Lu Chen asked Wang Qingci to leave. When Wang Qingci walked out of the palace gate, her body was still trembling, her whole body was weak, and she needed the support of the palace's maids to walk. At this time, Wang Qingci turned his head and glanced at the plaque of the palace. The expression on his face instantly became extremely cold, and a strong killing intent flashed in his eyes. "King Bei, just wait for me, your death will be soon." After putting aside the harsh words in his heart, Wang Qingci turned around and returned to Baihua Tower. After Wang Qingci left, Lu Chen came out of the room and happened to see Chu Yuqin and Mu Zixuan. Mu Zixuan said at this time, "Congratulations to the prince for capturing the heart of this beauty." Lu Chen came to Mu Zixuan, hugged Mu Zixuan's body, and then said softly, "This is all thanks to your arrangement, my beloved concubine." At this time, Chu Yuqin reminded from the side, "Chener, I find that you have become more and more ridiculous recently, and you actually brought the Oiran into your home. If people find out about this, what will the people of Beijing think of you? You are their king." After hearing Chu Yuqin's scolding, Lu Chen sighed and said, "Aunt Chu, actually I have my own reasons." Hearing this, Chu Yuqin was stunned for a moment, and then asked, "What's the reason?" Although Chu Yuqin thought that Lu Chen was making excuses for his lust, Chu Yuqin was different from ordinary people. She usually listened to Lu Chen's explanation. Lu Chen then said to Mu Zixuan, "My beloved concubine, please tell Aunt Chu what my difficulties are." Mu Zixuan was stunned for a moment. How did she know what Lu Chen's difficulties were? As a husband, doesn't he just like beauty? However, Mu Zixuan reacted quickly, and then said to Chu Yuqin, "Aunt Chu, I will tell you about the prince later. He does have his own reasons." Hearing this, Chu Yuqin looked at Mu Zixuan with suspicion. She now seriously doubted whether Lu Chen and Mu Zixuan were playing a double act. After all, the husband sang and the wife followed, but she had no evidence. Then Chu Yuqin said nothing more, "I'm going on patrol, you guys can chat." Chapter 23 Lu Chen's Difficulties. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Chu Yuqin's leaving figure, Mu Zixuan couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh again. Lu Chen asked doubtfully, "My dear concubine, why are you laughing?" Mu Zixuan replied, "My lord, you didn't see Aunt Chu's expression just now. When she was at the gate of the hospital, her face was red and she looked very tormented." Lu Chen thought that this must be the effect of Dragon Phoenix tea. Mu Zixuan asked at this time, "Your Majesty, has Miss Wang really surrendered to you completely?" Lu Chen thought for a moment. When Wang Qingci left just now, he glanced at Wang Qingci's favorability. Wang Qingci's favorability did not drop because of his hard work. On the contrary, under the influence of Longfeng tea, the favorability level increased by 10, reaching 70. But it is still early to say that we have surrendered completely. Lu Chen then said, "Not yet, but if she comes to the palace a few more times, I believe she will soon be reluctant to leave the palace. Mu Zixuan said, then I wish the prince to conquer Miss Wang as soon as possible. Lu Chen smiled slightly and said nothing more. After Wang Qingci returned to Baihua Tower, she immediately carefully recalled what she had done after entering the palace. After all, she was a 9th-level expert, but she was drugged without her noticing. Fortunately, King Bei didn't know her identity, he just wanted to covet her beauty. If King Bei wanted to kill her today, she would probably be dead. She would never allow this to happen a second time. After Wang Qingci thought for a while, she still didn't think of the place where she might have been drugged. At this time, Wang Qingci suddenly thought of something, and she immediately took out a perfume bottle from the wooden box on the table. The time when she might be drugged is the palace's perfume. Wang Qingci then opened a perfume bottle and smelled it, but the perfume did not make her lose her power. Immediately afterwards, Wang Qingci opened all the perfume bottles and smelled all the perfumes, but the power in her body was still there. She suddenly remembered that she immediately recovered her skills after leaving Bei Wang. Could it be that the problem lies with King Bei? But King Bei is just an ordinary person. How can he have such mysterious means? The more Wang Qingci thought about it, the more confused she became. She was very irritable now. Originally, I just wanted to seduce King Bei, and then use the charming skill to charm him and control him. However, the charm failed, and instead I got caught up in it. The guy had been tormenting her for so long that she even doubted whether she would be pregnant with his child. Wang Qingci became extremely angry when he thought of this. Damn it! King Bei is such a lecher, sooner or later I will have to castrate him with my own hands. At the same time, North Palace, Lu Chen didn't go to see Zhou Yuyu today. It was a rare day for Zhou Yuyu to rest. After Chu Yuqin walked around the inner courtyard, she returned to the main courtyard. At this time, Lu Chen was no longer in the main courtyard, and only Mu Zixuan was still in the pavilion. Chu Yuqin immediately came to Mu Zixuan. Zixuan, Chen said earlier that he had a reason for being lustful. Can you tell me what the reason is? This. Mu Zixuan was slightly stunned. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Lu Chen was just making an excuse. Unexpectedly, Chu Yuqin really believed that he had his own reasons. What difficulties could he have? It's just pure lust. Of course, as Lu Chen's princess, Mu Zixuan would definitely not say that about her husband. Mu Zixuan thought for a moment, and then replied, Aunt Chu, haven't you noticed that the prince has changed a lot recently? Although he still likes things between men and women, there is a big difference between him and the rumored unlearned king of the north. Difference. After hearing what Mu Zixuan said, Chu Yuqin thought for a moment and realized that it was indeed the case, not to mention that Lu Chen has 2 mysterious weapons, and Lu Chen also has a tree that can improve his skills. Just judging from his personal personality, he has also undergone great changes. In the past, he didn't care at all about the affairs of the mansion. Her aunt arranged everything for him, but Lu Chen actually took out soap and perfume recently, thinking of increasing income for the palace, and he seems to have asked Li Feng to actively train the army. Of course, the biggest change was that he had internal energy fluctuations. He was now a warrior. Although she didn't know where his skills came from, he was indeed a warrior, but then again, what does this have to do with his lustful reasons? Chu Yuqin continued to ask, Chen has indeed changed a lot recently, but what does this have to do with the difficulties he mentioned? Mu Zixuan's brain was spinning rapidly, and then she sighed and said, Aunt Chu, in my opinion, the prince is not ignorant, nor does he really like beauty. All he did was actually for himself. Dirty, to save your life. Think about it, if he was a prince capable of both literary and military skills, would he be able to leave the capital alive? Hearing Mu Zixuan's words, Chu Yuqin's mind froze, and she instantly linked together events that had happened in the past. She used to think that Lu Chen was spoiled by her, and thought that Lu Chen would continue to enjoy himself like this in the future. But she never thought that this might be Lu Chen's faking. Thinking about it now, if Lu Chen didn't pretend to be ignorant, many forces might have taken action against him while he was still in the capital. The assassination in Blood Moon Tower is a typical example. He was already regarded as an uneducated and useless prince, and he was even driven to the bitter cold land in the north by the emperor. Even so, there were still people who wouldn't let him go. Then if he behaved a little smarter, wouldn't he be more of a threat to others, and wouldn't those princes want to kill him even more? When she thought that she had misunderstood Lu Chen, Chu Yuqin felt extremely guilty. It turns out that it wasn't that Lu Chen didn't grow up from the beginning to the end, it was that she never understood Lu Chen. Lu Chen must have been under a lot of pressure by pretending to be uneducated. She is so incompetent as an aunt. Back then, she said in front of her sister that she would take good care of Chin'er throughout her life. But as a result, she didn't know the pain in Chin'er's heart, and she thought he was ignorant and a lustful person. Mu Zixuan had only been married to Lu Chen for a few months, but she already knew what was buried in Lu Chen's heart. However, she had been with Lu Chen for more than 10 years, but she didn't know his difficulties. At this time, Chu Yuqin said to Mu Zixuan in a low mood, "Zixuan, you are right. It's because I'm an incompetent aunt. I don't know the pressure he's under. You are the closest person to him now. I hope you can help me take good care of him and share more of my burdens with him." Mu Zixuan smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, don't say such things. In the eyes of the prince, you are the closest person to him." Chu Yuqin sighed and said, "I am the person closest to him. I don't even know what he is thinking in his heart." Mu Zixuan said quickly, "Aunt Chu, you must not think like this. In the eyes of the prince, no woman is as important as you." Chu Yuqin had a bitter smile on her face and did not continue the topic. Chapter 24 Invite Wang Qingci again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Half a month passed in a blink of an eye. Today is the opening day of the perfume shop in Beiwang Palace. After half a month of publicity by the girls in Baihualu, the whole Yanqing now knows that the perfume produced by Wang Fu is very good. In the morning, as soon as the perfume shop opened, ladies from the noble families of North County poured in less than half an hour. All the perfume produced by Wang Fu in the past half month was sold out. Lu Chen didn't go to the perfume shop. He was studying the map of the world at home. Now that he has decided to fight for that position, he can't just lie down and read nothing like before. At this time, Mu Zixuan and Zhou Xiaoxiao came back. Seeing that they came back so quickly, Lu Chen put down the map in his hand and asked, "My beloved, how are the sales of perfume?" Mu Zixuan did not answer directly, but said, "Your Majesty, I think the price of perfume is still too low." Hearing this, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, and then he asked, "Why do you think so?" Mu Zixuan replied, "Our palace produced less than 2,000 bottles of perfume in half a month, but all of them were sold out in half an hour." Lu Chen said in surprise, "So fast?" Lu Chen was not a fool. When he priced the perfume at 1 tael a bottle, he actually priced it based on Beijun's economic situation. After all, Beijun is so poor, and there are not that many wealthy families who can afford perfume. But Mu Zixuan told him that all the perfumes were robbed after half an hour. At this time, Zhou Xiaoxiao said from the side, "Your Majesty, there are many outsiders coming to buy perfume, especially caravans from other places. They are very interested in perfume and buy dozens of bottles." Lu Chen instantly understood the reason. It seemed that Wang Fu's perfume was targeted by those merchants, so it sold out so quickly. Those merchants most likely buy perfume not for their own use, but to sell it in other places, such as wealthy places like the capital. Lu Chen thought for a moment and felt that his vision could not be so narrow. In the future, he will need a lot of money to raise an army, and his economic and trade activities must not be limited to Beijun. The people in Beijun didn't have much money in their pockets, so it was basically unrealistic to squeeze money from them to support the army. Thinking of this, Lu Chen looked at Mu Zixuan's 3 daughters, and then asked, "My dear concubine, if you are in the capital now, and you are still a young lady of the Mu family, unmarried, if you hear someone in the capital talking about selling this kind of perfume, how much money are you willing to spend on a bottle of perfume?" Mu Zixuan thought for a moment, and then replied, "Your Majesty, if it is me, I am willing to spend at most 20 taels of silver on a bottle of perfume." Mu Zixuan's identity is represented by the young ladies and wives from wealthy families in the capital. If Mu Zixuan is willing to spend 20 taels of silver on a bottle of perfume, then the other ladies are similar. Then Lu Chen said, "I decided to open another perfume shop in Beijing in Sufengqing, and the price of perfume will be set at 20 taels of silver in the future. When the production of perfume increases, we will increase the price appropriately according to the exquisiteness of the small porcelain bottle." Lu Chen thought to himself that although he could not return to the capital, there should be no problem selling his shop in the capital. After hearing Lu Chen's words, Mu Zixuan immediately said, "My lord, I need to tell my father about this." Lu Chen has no way to return to the capital, and perfume will definitely be a hugely profitable commodity in the future, so it is inevitable that no one will be jealous, so if he wants to open a shop in the capital, he still needs someone in the capital to keep an eye on him. Lu Chen naturally understood this truth. He smiled and said, "Then I'll trouble my beloved concubine." At this time, Mu Zixuan continued, "My lord, if you want to open a perfume shop in Sufeng City, I'm afraid you have to tell Aunt Chu and ask her to tell the Chu family. Sufeng City is located in the south of the Yangtze River. It is a city where all the major families in the south of the Yangtze River gather. It is also the place where the commerce of the Great Xia Dynasty was most developed. Of course, that place can also be said to be the territory of the Jiangnan family. If a perfume shop wants to open in Sufeng City, it needs someone to watch over it, and it must be from an aristocratic family. If it is not a family, it will definitely not be able to control the scene. Without a family watching, the shop may be robbed in a few days." Lu Chen said, "I will talk to Aunt Chu later." At this time, Chu Yuqin was patrolling the outer courtyard. He was not here, and Lu Chen was not in a hurry. Things have to be done slowly, and it will take some time to open a shop. It does not mean that it can be opened immediately. At this time, Zhe Yuyu quietly came behind Mu Zixuan, and then gently pushed Mu Zixuan with her hand, as if to remind her of something. Mu Zixuan reacted instantly. She smiled and asked, "Your Majesty, the perfume is now famous thanks to the publicity of Bai Hualu. Should we invite Miss Wang to come to the palace and thank her personally?" In the past half-month, Lu Chen has been in Zhou Yuyu's room basically every night, and Zhou Yuyu can't bear it anymore. Mu Zixuan and the other three girls also discovered that Lu Chen seemed to have to cultivate relationships with them every day. Mu Zixuan and Zhou Xiaoxiao would occasionally serve Lu Chen, but they had children after all, so Lu Chen would not let them serve them too much. For him, children are more important. Zhou Yuyu wanted Wang Qingci from Bai Hualu to share the pressure for her, but this kind of thing was definitely not something that a concubine of hers could say, so she asked Mu Zixuan and Lu Chen to say it. It just so happened that today they could use the excuse of thanking Wang Qingci to invite Wang Qingci to the palace as a guest. After hearing Mu Zixuan's proposal, Lu Chen said, "Yes, but she must be invited in your name." Half a month had passed, and Lu Chen felt a little hot inside when he thought of Wang Qingci's soft and delicate body. There is no way, he has not broken through to the 9th level yet, and cannot suppress his inner desires. Mu Zixuan smiled and said, "I understand." Then Mu Zixuan said to the maid Xiaoro, "Go and invite Miss Wang to the palace and say that I want to thank her personally." "Yes, princess." Then Xiaoro went to Baihua Tower. Not long after, Wang Qingci met Xiaoro. When he heard that the princess wanted to thank him personally, Wang Qingci frowned slightly. She suffered a loss in the palace last time, so now she has lingering fears about the palace. She still hasn't figured out how she was tricked. She has been recalling the details of what happened that day for half a month, but she still can't find any trace of the other party drugging her. This time Mu Zixuan invited herself to the palace. Maybe it was that lecher who instigated her again. Wang Qingci's delicate body could not help but tremble when he thought of Lu Chen. Last time, the devil didn't let her go for several hours, completely treating her like a plaything. Wang Qingci hesitated. Should he go to the palace today, or should he wait a few days until the people from the Blood Moon Tower arrived? After pondering for a moment, Wang Qingci still planned to visit the palace. First of all, this was an order from the palace, and it was difficult for her, an Oiran in name only, to refuse. Secondly, she was on guard this time. She was confident that she would not be tricked again, and she planned to bring Ruanjizan. After entering the palace, if she was alone with Lu Chen again, she would directly use Ruanjizan to deal with him. This time, she didn't believe she would be played again. Recommended book Apocalyptic Crisis in Ancient Times. Fortunately, I have many children and blessings. Remarks on the launch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The word count of this book has been reached and it is about to be put on the shelves. Audience, that I saw that the follow-up reading of Qidian seems to be good, and there are many readers of Qidian, so I still want to say that this book is a monthly subscription book of QRead, so it was put on the shelves relatively early. the monthly subscription is like being a member of Tencent Video. Once you become a member, you can watch VIP content for free. At present, Qread membership is not expensive and there are many books. If you are interested, you can read it. Qidian readers saw that I was on the shelves so quickly, so please don't criticize me. I saw a lot of monthly subscription books being criticized by Qidian readers, saying they looked ugly. The update rules after being put on the shelves are that 2 chapters will be updated daily. If the number of recommended tickets or monthly tickets reaches 300 on the day, an additional update will be added. If someone rewards you with 10,000 book coins, add one more update, up to 3 additional updates. Finally, I would like to thank readers for their support and editors for their support. Chapter 25 The Function of the All-Poison-Proof Elixir. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Under the leadership of the servants of the palace, Wang Qingci once again came to the place where she lost her body. Looking at the palace plaque in front of her, the scene from half a month ago kept echoing in her mind. Wang Qingci tried hard to control his emotions and look calm. Soon, the servants of the palace brought Wang Qingci to the north courtyard. After entering the courtyard, Wang Qingci only saw Lu Chen sitting in the pavilion, but not the princess. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingci instantly understood that it was indeed this lecher who had made excuses to trick him. Why did the princess want to thank herself? It was clearly because he wanted to repeat his same trick and play with her body again. Wang Qingci sneered in his heart. This time was different from last time. It would not be easy for King Bei to repeat his old tricks. She then clenched the Ruanjin powder in her hand, planning to use the Ruanjin powder on Lu Chen while Lu Chen wasn't paying attention, and then use charming skill to charm him. If you dare to take away her innocence, she will make King Bei pay a heavy price today. Thinking of this, Wang Qingci walked slowly towards the pavilion, then saluted and said, "The slave family has met the prince." Lu Chen nodded slightly, and then said with a serious face, "Miss Wang, Zixuan said that she has something to do with you, but she just went to the perfume shop and won't be back for a while. Just sit down and wait." Wang Qingci said, "Yes, Your Majesty." Wang Qingci then came to the stone table, blocked the teapot on the stone table with Yun Shang, and put the soft tendons in. At this time, Lu Chen took a look at Wang Qingci, and Wang Qingci's personal information appeared in his eyes. Name, Wang Qingci. Identity, 9th grade warrior, the adopted daughter of the Jiangnan Wang family, the saint of Yanyu Pavilion, and the temporary owner of Baihua Tower. When she heard that Beiwang Mansion was looking for her, she saw through it at a glance that this was Beiwang's trick, but she still chose to go. After arriving at Beiwang's mansion, she poured the Ruanjin powder into the teapot, planning to drug Beiwang first, then use her charm power to charm Bei King, and finally take revenge on Bei King. Rating, 95. Favorability, 75. Continuously affected by Longfeng tea. Seeing Wang Qingci's personal information, Lu Chen raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Want to use Ruanjin Sen against him? Then her wishful thinking will not come true. Thinking of this, Lu Chen asked the system in his mind. System, can the 10,000 poison invincible pills be able to resist the Ruanjin powder? Of course, after taking the 10,000 poisons invulnerable pill, the host already possesses the 10,000 poisons body, 10,000 poisons invulnerable body. The host's body can dissolve all the poisons in the world. Lu Chen felt relieved after hearing the system's reply. Since Wang Qingci used Ruanjin powder on him, it just so happened that he could use it to his advantage. Then Lu Chen came to the stone table and poured 2 cups of tea. 1 cup was placed in front of Wang Qingci, and the other cup was held by himself. "Miss Wang, you are thirsty. Drink some tea to moisten your throat." Wang Qingci said quickly, "Thank you, Your Majesty, I'm not thirsty." She just put Ruanjin powder in this teapot, but she didn't dare to drink it. Even if there was no Ruanjin powder, she wouldn't dare to drink the palace's tea. What happened last time was still vivid in her mind, and she had to be extremely careful in the palace to avoid being tricked again. Seeing that Wang Qing refused to drink, Lu Chen didn't say anything more. Then he picked up the teacup and drank it all in one gulp. Then he sat on the stone bench next to Wang Qingci, staring directly at Wang Qingci. "Qingci, I have been thinking about you since you went back last time." After hearing this, Wang Qingci's heartbeat began to speed up inexplicably. She knew that King Bei was preparing to take action against her. At this time, Wang Qingci felt very lucky. Fortunately, he had put Wanjin-san in the teapot in advance, otherwise the same situation as last time might have happened again. Wang Qingci then said, "I would like to thank you, Your Majesty, for your concern." Lu Chen continued, "Qingci, have you said goodbye to your sisters in Baihualu? I plan to find a time to buy you back." Wang Qingci pretended to be pitiful and said, "Your Majesty, please give me some more time. I can't bear to leave them. I haven't told them about this yet." Lu Chen was about to say something, but suddenly hesitated, then raised his hand to cover his head. "Ouch, weird, why is my head so dizzy?" After hearing this, Wang Qingci's eyes lit up. Ruanjinsen took effect and she could start her performance. Wang Qingci quickly pretended to be panicked, and then immediately came over to help Lu Chen. At this moment, her dress swept across the table and swept the teapot on the table to the ground. "My lord, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me." "Your Majesty, just wait, I'll call someone over right now." At this time, apart from the two of them, there was no one in the north courtyard, not even a maid. Of course, this was specially arranged by Lu Chen. Lu Chen shook his head at this time and said, "Qingci, I'm fine. Please help me to the room. I should be fine after taking a rest." Wang Qingci then helped Lu Chen to a room in the north courtyard. If there were other people around at this time, they would definitely see a smile on the faces of Lu Chen and Wang Qingci. Soon, Wang Qingci helped Lu Chen enter the room, and she closed the door behind her. At this time, Wang Qingci was completely unaware of the seriousness of the problem. She thought her plan was about to succeed. She was already thinking about how to deal with King Bei later to vent her hatred. After Lu Chen came to the bed and lay down, he pretended to be weak and said, "Qingci, I'm fine. You don't have to worry. My body has always been weak. I often have headaches and my limbs are weak." Wang Qingci sneered in his heart, "Is it more hypocritical? I don't know who played with her body for a few hours last time. Is this called weak?" Wang Qingci did not intend to waste time. After all, she was in Beiwang Mansion, and there was Chu Yuqin there. She had to charm Beiwang as soon as possible and find out from him about the mysterious master in Beiwang Mansion. Then, Wang Qingci looked into Lu Chen's eyes and said, "My lord, look into my eyes." After the words fell, Wang Qingci showed a charming smile on her face, and then she prepared to use her charm skills. As a result, at this time, Lu Chen grabbed her beautiful hand, and then said with a smile, "Qingci, you are so beautiful." Wang Qingci was stunned for a moment. She found that the power in her body dissipated again, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. How so? It's obvious that King Bei didn't do anything. She was already so careful, but she still got tricked. Wang Qingci glanced at Lu Chen, who was lying on the bed, and felt a little relieved. Fortunately, he had used Wanjin-san for Bei Wang in advance, so he couldn't do anything to him. However, just when Wang Qingci was thinking this, Lu Chen's big hand directly pulled her onto the bed, and quickly turned over, looking down at Wang Qingci. Wang Qingci was stunned again. Didn't King Bei get hit by his own Ruan Jinsen? How could he still have strength? And just now she saw King Bei drink Wanjin powder with her own eyes. Wang Qingci felt that her mind went blank. Just when she was about to say something, Lu Chen came down. Well. Ding. If the host develops a relationship with Wang Qingci once, the qi refining technique experience value will be increased by 20, and the rejuvenation hand experience value will be increased by 10. Chapter 26 Showdown. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wang Qingci knew that he was finished. 69.c. When she first developed a relationship with King Bei, she was only in pain, and she kept thinking about how to get revenge on him and how to kill him. However, only half a month later, when she developed a relationship with King Bei again, she forgot all the pain and was completely lost in confusion. A few hours later, Chu Yuqin came to patrol the north courtyard and was stunned for a moment when she heard the sound coming from the room, when she was patrolling in the east courtyard. Just now, she clearly saw Mu Zixuan and 3 other women there. How could there be such a sound in the north courtyard? Could it be that a man sneaked into the north courtyard and had an affair with the maid in the north courtyard? This is not okay. Then Chu Yuqin came outside the room where the sound came from, poked a hole in the paper on the door, and took a look at the situation inside the room. Seeing this, Qingci was stunned for a moment. She quickly closed her eyes, turned away with a blushing face, and murmured as she walked, "This little scoundrel brought a woman back without even saying a word to me." She thought that a man from the outer courtyard came in and had an affair with the maid from the inner courtyard, but it turned out that Lu Chen himself was doing bad things. Seeing the scene just now, Qingci felt even more restless. Qingci quickly ran her skills to stabilize her mind, and constantly reminded herself not to think too much. At sunset, the sun gradually sets in the west, and the sky is filled with fiery red sunset. Mu Zixuan and the Zhou sisters came to the north courtyard talking and laughing. The three of them naturally knew what happened in the north courtyard. At this time, in a room in the north courtyard, Wang Qingci was lying in Lu Chen's arms, motionless. The fiery red light shone into the room, turning Wang Qingci's snow-white skin into a bronze color. At this time, Wang Qingci had completely woken up. She knew she had been fooled. No, it should be said that everyone was fooled. The entire Xia dynasty was deceived. King Bei, the man in front of him who took away his innocence, could never be a waste. After her innocence was taken away by King Bei last time, she was in a state of extreme anger, so she never considered the possibility that King Bei was not a waste. But now that I think about it, there are doubts everywhere. First of all, Bei Wang was able to play with her for several hours. This was completely impossible for ordinary people to do. Ordinary people did not have such physical ability, not to mention the rumors that Bei Wang had been drained of his body by drinking and sex. Moreover, King Bei was able to block the power in her body without anyone noticing, which also proved that he was not simple. In addition, after Bei Wang drank Wanjin powder today, nothing happened at all. How could this be an ordinary person? Could this be the useless prince that people call him? What a joke! If people who are fine after drinking Ruanjinsen are trash, then there are probably not many people in the world who are not trash. As for Bei Wang saying that he had a headache and was weak after drinking Wanjin powder, it now seems that he was obviously pretending, just to let her help him into the room so that he could do things more easily. When Wang Qingci thought of this, she felt extremely regretful. She was so stupid that she actually believed that King Bei had been infected with Ruanjinsen, but there's no point regretting it now. It's happened. At this time, Wang Qingci whispered, "My lord, you have actually known my identity for a long time." At this point, there is no need to keep pretending. It's time for a showdown. Lu Chen was able to instantly seal her power, obviously knowing that she was a 9th-grade warrior, and he was able to resist the influence of Wanjin powder, which also proved that he knew what Wanjin powder was. There's no point in continuing to pretend. Hearing Wang Qingci's words, Lu Chen stroked Wang Qingci's smooth jade back and said with a smile, "What's your identity?" "What are you talking about, Qingci? Why can't I understand?" Wang Qingci continued, "My lord, you better stop pretending. You can seal the power in my body instantly. This is not something ordinary people can do, and it is impossible for you not to know my identity. Tell me what you are going to do with me. Now that I have fallen into your hands, I am at your disposal whether you want me to be killed or chopped into pieces." Hearing this, Lu Chen turned over, placed his hands on both sides of her head, and looked at her condescendingly. "Why should I kill you? My 8th emperor brother was so kind to me and sent me a 9th-grade beauty, but I ended up killing her like this. Isn't that how unkind of me?" Wang Qingci was startled when he heard Lu Chen's words. Sure enough, King Bei already knew that she was sent by the 8th prince. Wang Qingci then chuckled and said, "Everyone in the world says that King Bei is a waste. Even His Majesty drove you to Beijing because he didn't like you. But you never defended yourself and even came here simply. North County. King Bei is hiding so deeply, so he must have a bigger conspiracy. Now that I know that you were all pretending before, are you sure you won't kill someone and silence them?" Wang Qingci looked straight at Lu Chen with her beautiful eyes. She didn't think she could survive. After all, she has lost all her skills in front of King Bei, and King Bei cannot be an ordinary person. Maybe the mysterious master who has been rumored by the outside world is actually King Bei himself. Lu Chen raised his hand at this time, caressed Wang Qingci's charming cheek, and then said lightly, "If it were someone else, it might be possible to kill you. But this king is different. Not only will I not kill you, I will also let you become my slave girl." my concubine, and give birth to children for me." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Wang Qingci was stunned, but then she sneered. Lu Chen asked doubtfully, "Why, are my words ridiculous?" Wang Qingci said, "It is indeed ridiculous. Does the prince think that I will serve you wholeheartedly by your side? Even if you seal my power, I can still commit suicide when no one is around." Lu Chen said with a smile, "Suicide? I am very curious about your reason for committing suicide." Wang Qingci said, "Your Majesty wants to lock me in the palace as a tool to vent my anger, and also asks me why I want to commit suicide. Your Majesty thinks I will endure such humiliation in order to survive." Lu Chen said calmly, "I didn't say that I would keep you locked up in the palace forever. I will release you later." Wang Qingci's brain froze. What did she hear? King Bei said he would release her. How can this be? They have already shown their cards, and if they let her go, wouldn't it be like letting the tiger go home? The fact that King Bei has been able to pretend to be a waste for so many years proves that he is a very scheming man. How dare he do such a risky thing? Or is it that King Bei is so confident that he will not be able to leave Yanqing? Lu Chen saw Wang Qingci's astonished expression, and then asked, "Why, do you think it's weird?" Wang Qingci came back to her senses and asked, "Aren't you afraid that after I leave Beiwang Mansion, the news will spread that you are not a waste?" Lu Chen said calmly, "First of all, no one will believe your words. Secondly, I don't think you will tell anything about me." After cultivating a relationship twice, Wang Qingci's favorability score has now risen to 90. Especially today's relationship cultivation, it can be said that Wang Qingci has been conquered directly. There is no possibility of betrayal if the favorability level exceeds 80, not to mention that her current favorability level has reached 90. Chapter 27 Wang Qingci's Choice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wang Qingci fell silent after hearing Lu Chen's words. Indeed, even if she goes out and says that King Bei is not a waste, it is unlikely that anyone will believe her. After all, Bei Wang's image of a waste has been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. In addition, since Bei Wang came to Beijing, he has done nothing and has fun in Bei Wang Mansion every day. There have been rumors in Beijing that the king of Bei kept many beautiful maids in the Bei Wang Mansion and hung out with these maids all day long, soaking in wine pools and meat forests. However, Wang Qingci was a little confused. Why did King Bei think that he would never tell anyone? Does he believe in himself so much? Doesn't he know that he has always wanted to take revenge on him after he did something that was outrageous to both humans and gods? At this time, Lu Chen let go of Wang Qingci's delicate body and got up from the bed. While putting on his clothes, he said, "Okay, you can go back." Hearing this, Wang Qingci looked at Lu Chen in disbelief. "Are you really going to let me go?" Lu Chen smiled slightly and then said, "Do you think I am the kind of person who likes to joke?" Wang Qingci stopped talking and started to get dressed. After a while, Wang Qingci walked out of the palace cautiously. Standing at the door of the palace, she still couldn't believe it. She turned to look at the plaque of the palace, with mixed feelings in her heart. She just came out like this? Did King Bei really not do anything to her? Wang Qingci quickly sensed her own skill, and her skill returned at this time. If Bei Wang didn't plan to let him go, it would be impossible to break the seal on her inner power. After all, she was a 9th-grade warrior, and it was not easy to catch a 9th-grade warrior. Wang Qingci then turned around and quickly returned to Baihua Tower with an uneasy heart. Along the way, she had been paying attention to her surroundings, fearing that King Bei would take action against her on the way. As a result, she returned to Baihua Tower, and still no one took action against her, not even following her. After returning to Baihua Building, Wang Qingci stood on the attic of Baihua Building, looking in the direction of Beiwang Mansion, and couldn't help but think that it seemed that Beiwang was serious. "I didn't expect Beiwang to be so courageous," Wang Qingci sighed. The more generous Beiwang was, this proved that Beiwang was stronger. The fact that King Bei is not afraid of telling his story shows that he is not afraid of the consequences of exposing his strength. This also shows that the current king of Bei is probably full-fledged. Wang Qingci's emotions are a bit complicated. What should he do now? Is it possible that she really wants to betray Yanyu Pavilion, betray the Wang family, and betray the 8th prince? Sitting on the attic, Wang Qingci looked into the distance quietly, with the breeze blowing on her face. At this time, Lu Chen's figure appeared in her mind again. Immediately afterwards, the scene that had just happened was replayed in her mind, and for a moment, her body became extremely hot and restless. Wang Qingci sighed. She has discovered that she seems to be addicted to the feeling of developing a relationship with King Bei. Although it was only twice, the feeling this time has been engraved in her heart. If King Bei died one day, it would be hard for her to imagine how she would calm down. Her restless body without him, she didn't know how Bei Wang did it, but none of that mattered anymore. What was important was that she couldn't live without Bei Wang, and she thought for a moment, even if she cooperated with Zula to kill King Bei, she would still be nothing more than a tool to the 8th prince. After all, she is just a killer raised by the Wang family and has no identity, so whether she is with the 8th prince or with the Northern King, there is actually no difference. In addition, she didn't know that King Bei had used a method to make her body unable to leave him, so becoming King Bei's woman was her best choice. Wang Qingci then looked in the direction of the North Palace and said softly, "My lord, you win." As her words fell, the pressure on her body seemed to dissipate instantly. She also understood why King Bei was so confident and let her go. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. King Bei was really a terrible man. Fortunately, she was a woman. If she had been a man, she would have been dead long ago. Just then, an old woman appeared in the attic. "Holy girl, there is a letter from the Blood Moon Tower, asking us to find out as soon as possible whether the mysterious master is still in the North Palace. They will be able to reach Yanqing in 5 days. Wang Qingci said expressionlessly, "I know, I will personally go to the Bei Wang mansion tonight to test them." In the dead of night, a black figure appeared at the door of Bei Wang mansion. This black figure easily bypassed the palace guards and quickly entered the inner courtyard. There are not many powerful warriors in the outer courtyard of the palace, so it is not surprising that someone can sneak in, but not everyone can enter the inner courtyard. As soon as the black figure arrived at the inner courtyard, he was blocked by a woman in white before entering the door of the inner courtyard. Chu Yuqin looked at the man in black in front of her and said coldly, "Not everyone can enter the palace." After the words fell, Chu Yuqin stabbed the woman in black with her sword. The figure of the woman in black flashed and easily dodged Chu Yuqin's sword. Chu Yuqin frowned and suddenly had a bad feeling in her heart. A 9th-grade warrior. It looked like he was here to assassinate Chen. Just as Chu Yuqin was sitting in the car and continuing to take action, the woman said, "Mrs. Chu, I have something important to discuss with the prince, and I would like to ask Mrs. Chu for your convenience." Hearing this, Chu Yuqin sneered and said, "We have something important to discuss. I'm afraid you are here to assassinate him." Chu Yuqin couldn't remember when Lu Chen had interacted with a 9th-grade warrior other than herself. Although this woman's voice sounded familiar, Chu Yuqin still didn't dare to be careless and could only regard her as a female assassin. Then Chu Yuqin swung his sword at the woman in black. The woman in black seemed to have no intention of confronting Chu Yuqin and kept dodging. Not long after, Lu Chen in the main courtyard heard the noise outside, and he immediately opened the door and came out. Lu Chen has a system that can quickly identify a person's identity, even if the person is wearing black clothes and veiled. Seeing that the woman in black was Wang Qingci, Lu Chen raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and then said to Chu Yuqin, "Aunt Chu, she is mine, let her in." After hearing Lu Chen's words, Chu Yuqin was stunned. She was very puzzled in her heart. When did Lu Chen have subordinates who were 9th-grade warriors? And the other party is a woman? She had never heard of or seen any other 9th-grade warriors around Lu Chen. But Chu Yuqin soon felt relieved. After all, there were too many things she didn't know about Lu Chen. Chu Yuqin had no choice but to get out of the way, but she still threatened Wang Qingci and said, "If you dare to harm Bei Wang, then you will not be able to leave Bei Wang's mansion." Wang Qingci ignored Chu Yuqin's threat and entered Lu Chen's room directly. After entering the room, Wang Qingci took off her veil. At this time, Lu Chen took a look at Wang Qingci's whole body. At this time, Wang Qingci was wearing a tight-fitting black dress, which perfectly highlighted her curvy figure and looked unique. Lu Chen asked with a smile, "You came to me again less than 2 hours after leaving the palace. Do you want to have sex with me again?" Wang Qingci smiled charmingly and said, "The prince is joking, but the slave family is not as powerful as the prince. The slave family came to the prince this time to tell him that the people from the Blood Moon Tower will arrive in Yanqing in 5 days, and in order to kill you this time, they sent 5 ninth-level warriors here, including the deputy owner of the Blood Moon Tower. Everyone is out. Chapter 28. It's you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing Wang Qingci's words, Lu Chen didn't show any uneasiness on his face. He had long read the information from Wang Qingci's personal information that Shuyu at Tower sent people to assassinate him. However, he did not expect that Blood Moon Tower would send so many 9th-level warriors to kill him this time. Isn't it said that there are very few 9th-grade warriors in this world? Why are 9th-grade warriors everywhere now? In order to assassinate a useless prince like himself, is it really good to send 5 9th-grade warriors here? If he didn't have a system, he might be dead. Seeing that there was no worried look on Lu Chen's face, Wang Qingci thought to himself that, sure enough, King Bei was already full-fledged and he was not afraid of the assassins of the Blood Moon Tower at all. Lu Chen came up behind Wang Qingci at this time, then put his hands under her armpits, hugged her waist and whispered in her ears, smiling and saying, "It seems you have made a choice. However, you betrayed my 8th emperor brother like this. Aren't you afraid that he will send people to kill you?" Wang Qingci said coquettishly, "This is not caused by the prince himself. The slave family is now your woman and can't live without you. The slave family has no choice. What can I do? I just hope that the prince can take pity on the slave family in the future and not treat the slave family like a tool and throw it away after use." Lu Chen smiled and said, "This is natural." Having said this, Lu Chen laid his head on Wang Qingci's fragrant shoulder, enjoying the fragrance of Wang Qingci's body. Lu Chen was thinking in his mind that the people from the Blood Moon Tower would be here in a few days. Although he had desert eagles and modern firearms like battery in his hands, if there were many people on the other side, he would be restrained by someone. He may have been in danger as soon as he took out the weapon. Therefore, his own strength must be enhanced. It is best to be able to break through to the level of a 9th-level warrior within these few days. The physical fitness of a 9th-level warrior will be greatly improved in all aspects. Even if the assassins in the Blood Moon Tower are very fast, with the help of their 9th-grade strength, Desert Eagle and Bartley will still kill them like chickens. However, although weapons are useful, you still have to stay alive. If someone from the opponent suddenly attacks you, and your perception is not enough, even if you have the ability to kill with one shot, you will probably be killed by the enemy in advance. At this time, Lu Chen asked the system in his mind, "System, how much experience does it take to upgrade the qi refining technique to the 2nd level?" The system's voice immediately sounded in Lu Chen's mind. 100 more experience points are needed. Hearing this, Lu Chen felt happy. Can he upgrade to the 2nd level if he still has 100 experience points? So fast. Lu Chen then asked, "After the qi refining technique is upgraded to the 2nd level, will my realm be able to break through to the 7th level?" Lu Chen's question was a little more conservative. Originally, he was thinking that if the qi refining technique broke through to the 2nd level, his strength would probably be able to break through to the 9th level. At this moment, the system sounded, "After the qi refining technique is upgraded to the 2nd level, the host's realm will be raised to the 9th level." Lu Chen was a little excited, as he thought, he was really promoted to the 9th level, but having said that, the qi refining technique is just a qi refining technique. It mainly increases his power and has no actual lethality. From now on, he still has to find a way to obtain lethal external skills. At this time, Wang Qingci, who was being held by Lu Chen, felt something strange about Lu Chen's body. Wang Qingci's fair complexion instantly turned rosy, and then a blush spread from her face to her collarbone and neck. At this time, Lu Chen whispered in Wang Qingci's ear, "From now on, you are my slave girl. As a slave girl, do you know what you should do for your master?" Wang Qingci was slightly stunned when she heard this question. She had only been toyed with by this guy all afternoon during the day, and she didn't expect that this guy was still energetic at night. How could Bei Wang have such strong physical ability? Wang Qingci was a little shocked. She had been in Baihua building for so long, but she had never heard of that man being as ferocious as King Bei. Wang Qingci then said, "Your Majesty, the slave family is just here to report the letter. Now that the letter has been delivered, the slave family will go back first." At this point, Wang Qingci turned around and wanted to push Lu Chen away, but found that her skill had disappeared again. She was suddenly weak and unable to push Lu Chen away. Lu Chen immediately hugged Wang Qingci and walked towards the bed. Now he must seize the time to gain experience points for the qi refining technique, but he cannot let Wang Qingci run away like this. Wang Qingci finally sighed, feeling a little confused. After becoming Bei Wang's slave girl, she didn't know what the future would be like. With confusion about the future, Wang Qingci quickly immersed herself in the happiness that Lu Chen brought to her. At the same time, outside the yard, after Chu Yuqin saw the woman in black entering Lu Chen's room, she kept guard at the door of the courtyard. If something happened in the room, she would rush in immediately. She still didn't trust the woman in black, that was a 9th-grade warrior. She didn't believe that the woman in black had no other purpose in approaching King Bei, but at this moment, Chu Yuqin heard the woman's cheerful voice coming from the room. Chu Yuqin was stunned. That 9th-grade warrior is actually Chener's woman. 9th-grade warriors are relatively rare in this world, and 9th-grade women are even rarer. As a 9th-level warrior, Chu Yuqin found it incredible that the woman in black was willing to become a woman who was nominally a good-for-nothing prince. Chu Yuqin was a little curious as to why this woman chose Lu Chen. Early the next morning, Wang Qingci limped out of Lu Chen's room, but as soon as she came out, she met Chu Yuqin, who was still at the door of the courtyard. Seeing that it was Wang Qingci who came out of the room, Chu Yuqin's face darkened and she said coldly, "It's you." A 9th-level warrior went to Baihua Tower to work as an oiran, and even came to approach the king of the north. Who would dare to believe that there was no conspiracy? As a maid beside Lu Chen's mother and concubine, Chu Yuqin had never seen any kind of conspiracy, so she thought that Wang Qingci must have some plot against Lu Chen. Seeing that Chu Yuqin was still there, Wang Qingci was stunned for a moment. In the end, Chu Yuqin held back and did not take action. After all, Lu Chen had already said that Wang Qingci was his. However, Chu Yuqin still warned coldly, "Although I don't know who you are, I have to remind you that if you let me know that you have plans for Chener and want to use him to achieve your ulterior purposes, not only will it's you, and the forces behind you will all have to pay the price." Hearing this, Wang Qingci smiled slightly, and then said, "Mrs. Chu, why do I feel that you are so hostile to me? Is it possible that Mrs. Chu was jealous after listening to Chang Jenner all night last night?" As soon as Wang Qingci finished speaking, a strong wind spread out with Chu Yuqin's body as the center, and Chu Yuqin's skirt was blown up. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingci's smile disappeared instantly. A half-step master, he has even reached the point of releasing his inner strength. The Beiwang mansion was indeed not as simple as she thought. Then Wang Qingci turned around and left. "Mrs. Chu, I will go back today. Madam Chu, please rest assured. I am just the slave girl of the prince, and I can't shake your position in the heart of the prince." Chapter 29. Let me go. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Watching Wang Qingci's leaving figure, Chu Yuqin fell into deep thought. A 9th-grade warrior. He actually said she was Chener's slave girl. If Lu Chen was now the prince of the Great Xia Dynasty, Chu Yuqin wouldn't be surprised at all if he had a 9th-grade female slave. After all, the prince had real power, but in the eyes of outsiders, Lu Chen was an uneducated, dissolute waste. This Wang Qingci would actually take the initiative to become his female slave. Is it possible that the forces behind Wang Qingci have discovered Chener's disguise? Or is it that the forces behind Chener are the forces behind Wang Qingci? At this time, Chu Yuqin came to the door of Lu Chen's room. She thought she needed to remind Lu Chen. Just in time, Lu Chen came out of the room and saw that Chu Yuqin's face was a little serious. Lu Chen asked curiously, "Aunt Chu, what do you want to see me for?" Chu Yuqin asked, "Chener, does Wang Qingci come from the force behind you that supports you?" Hearing this question, Lu Chen was confused. What was the force that supported him? Does Aunt Chu think there is some force behind her? Lu Chen thought for a while. He had been acting too abnormally recently. In addition, he had taken out modern firearms such as the Desert Eagle and battery. This might have made Chu Yuqin think that there was a powerful person behind him. Force support. Thinking of this, Lu Chen smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, how do you know?" There is definitely no way to talk about the system, but in order to make Chu Yuqin feel at ease, Lu Chen planned to make up a lie. Chu Yuqin sighed, and then said, "Chener, that woman is not simple, she is a 9th level warrior. Auntie actually doesn't want to interfere too much in your affairs, but when it comes to your personal safety, I still want to remind you. The force that supports you must have a big conspiracy. Although I don't know their purpose yet, you don't want to be led by them all the time. If you want that position in the capital, just tell your aunt and I will tell your grandpa. When the time comes, your grandpa and the Chu family will definitely be on your side. There is no need for you to rely on those forces of unknown origin. The Chu family had no intention of giving up on Lu Chen, but it turned out that Lu Chen was dead and couldn't support him. In addition, he had been driven to a desolate place like Beijing, which forced the Chu family to consider other candidates. After all, Lu Chen is the grandson of the head of the Chu family. In terms of blood relationship, he is the closest among the princes. If Lu Chen could stand up and dare to stand up boldly and express his intention to participate in the battle for the heir, not to mention the Chu family, most of the Jiangnan aristocratic families would support him. From Chu Yuqin's point of view, there was no need for Lu Chen to rely on those unknown forces. Hearing Chu Yuqin's words, Lu Chen smiled slightly, then walked to Chu Yuqin's side, and then naturally took Chu Yuqin's hand. With Lu Chen holding her hand like this, Chu Yuqin's delicate body couldn't help but tremble, but she didn't break away. After all, they used to hold hands and talk about things. Lu Chen said at this time, "Aunt Chu, I know what you are worried about, but I can assure you that the force behind me completely obeys my orders. There are some secrets that I cannot tell you directly. Once I tell them, I am afraid that not only Daxia but the entire world will be in chaos, but I can reveal some things to you." Chu Yuqin's heart trembled slightly. What secret was so terrifying that it would lead to chaos in the world? At this time, Lu Chen raised Chu Yuqin's beautiful hand, and then wrote the word immortal in her palm. After feeling the words written by Lu Chen, Chu Yuqin was immediately shocked, and a trace of panic appeared on her dignified and elegant face. As we all know, this world is a world of martial arts, and there are no immortals. Even if someone reaches the legendary realm of heaven and humanity, they only have a few hundred more years of life and they will still die. Countless people have tried various methods in order to become immortals, and emperors from countless dynasties have searched for immortals everywhere in order to become immortals, which eventually led to the collapse of dynasties and the replacement of dynasties. However, immortals are only distant legends in this world so far, and now, Lu Chen actually told Chu Yuqin that the secrets about him were related to immortals. How could this prevent Chu Yuqin from being shocked? If Lu Chen's secret is really related to the immortal, it may really lead to chaos in the world, not only chaos in the world, but also the destruction of countless dynasties. Chu Yuqin said in a panic, "Chener, you don't have to say anything anymore. From today on, don't reveal the content of these 2 words to anyone, including me." Lu Chen asked, "Aunt Chu, do you believe it so quickly?" Chu Yuqin said, "I can't help but not believe it. The mysterious weapon on your body and your sudden internal strength have proven that what you said is related to those 2 words." Having said this, Chu Yuqin still asked with some worry, "Could it be that Wang Qingci and the forces behind her are also related to those 2 words you said?" Lu Chen shook his head and said, "No, I just have the means to control them so that they cannot betray me. If they betray me, they will die. So far, I am the only one who knows this secret, because I am the only inheritor." Hearing this, Chu Yuqin felt a little excited, and tears fell unconsciously in her eyes. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen was stunned. "Aunt Chu, why are you crying?" Chu Yuqin quickly rolled up her sleeves and wiped her tears. While wiping her tears, she said, "If your mother knows that you can have such an opportunity, she will definitely be very happy." Chu Yuqin originally thought that Lu Chen would just go through this life, but she didn't expect that one day he would get immortality. This is something that many people dream of, but it finally fell on Lu Chen's head. As Chu Yuqin, who had watched Lu Chen grow up since childhood, she was happy for Lu Chen from the bottom of her heart. With immortality, not to mention whether he can live forever, at least Lu Chen can do many things. For example, he can compete for a position in the capital. Lu Chen hugged Chu Yuqin's mature and graceful body, then patted her back and said comfortingly, "Aunt Chu, don't cry, don't cry. This is something you should be happy about." At this time, the fragrance of Chu Yuqin's body floated into Lu Chen's nose, and the soft and delicate body in his arms immediately made Lu Chen restless. Lu Chen was speechless. The dragon tiger pill was really the source of all evil, leaving him with no ability to control himself at all. Chu Yuqin, who was about to say something, suddenly turned red when she noticed something strange. She quickly pushed Lu Chen and said, "Chener, let go of Auntie, now you are also married. It's not good for others to see us hugging each other." Lu Chen did not let go, but leaned into her ear and said, "Aunt Chu, what's the matter? You are the person closest to me. I wonder who dares to gossip. Besides, you have watched me grow up, and we have done more intimate things. What's wrong with a hug?" Hearing this, Chu Yuqin became even more panicked, and she quickly pushed Lu Chen's body again. As a result, she found that the power in her body had dissipated, and she couldn't use any strength at all. Chu Yuqin said quickly, "Chener, don't be like this. You have grown up and are no longer a child. You have to know how to avoid suspicion when it comes to certain things." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, no matter how old I am, you are still my aunt, and I am also your Chener." Having said this, Lu Chen hugged Chu Yuqin very tightly, and their bodies were completely pressed together. Feeling the heat of Lu Chen's breath, Chu Yuqin was already a little confused. Chu Yuqin's heart skipped a beat. No. This cannot continue.